So my first trick is how to hard boil the egg so that it is perfectly hard boiled, the yolk is perfectly firm, and the shell comes off easily, because that is everybody's big complaint about hard boiled eggs. So here's the first tip, and I'll have to give a shout out Rachel Ray years ago. I learned this from her. You put the egg straight out of the refrigerator into your pot. So you do not bring the water to a boil first. You fill the pot with the eggs in it with cold water until the eggs are just covered. Perfect. And then you put the eggs on the stove and you turn your stove up to high and you wait for that water to come to a boil. As soon as it comes to a boil, you cover the pot, you kill the heat, and you set a timer for 10 minutes. So I've had my eggs sitting in the water, stove on high, for about 5 minutes, and it is coming to a boil. It needs to be at a pretty rapid boil. I kind of judge it by when I can hear the eggs moving around in the pot because the bubbles are making them move around. That's when I kill the heat and I cover it. So we're just going to give this another minute until that happens, and then kill the heat, cover my pot. All right, there we go. I can hear my eggs moving around. It's at a pretty rapid boil. So I'm throwing a lid on this, and I'm going to turn the stove off completely. I leave the pot exactly where it is, so it is going to continue to boil for a little while, and I set a timer for 10 minutes. My 10-minute timer just went off, and so I'm going to take my lid off of my eggs, and I'm going to bring them directly over to the sink. Empty as much of the hot water as I possibly can. Ooh, I'm getting all foggy. And then I'm going to run cold water over them for about a minute or two until they're ready to peel. And that's actually a really important step also. Do not refrigerate them with their shell on. When they are cool enough to handle, immediately after you cook them, that's when you peel them, and that's how you're going to get the shells off without making a mess. I'll be back and show you. So this is the part that drives everybody crazy about hard-boiled eggs, right? Is that you have your hard-boiled egg, and then when you peel it, it's like you're keeping your fingers crossed. Oh my goodness, I hope the shell comes off and the egg is still intact. Well, the two things that are really important here is, one, you boil it the way that I showed you so that you know that the whites of the eggs are completely cooked. And two, this is a warm egg. I just took it right out of the pot with the cold water that I rinsed it in, but it's been sitting in there for about 2 minutes. I did not refrigerate this. This is when you must peel them and then put them in a bowl. And if you're not ready to make your deviled eggs right away, or your egg salad, or to eat them, just cover the bowl with the peeled eggs and stick them in the refrigerator, and they last for up to a week, just like that. I always have a bowl of hard-boiled eggs in my refrigerator. Here's the other trick. The egg, holding it like this, the wider part, if you crack it down here and you get your thumb really under the film, there's like a film underneath the shell, and you do that immediately, the rest of it will come off pretty easily. And you can just kind of peel it right around, just like that. It'll come off without leaving any shell on the egg. And no breaks or anything, just a perfectly peeled hard-boiled egg. So I'll do another one for you. Okay, I've got right out of the cool water, it's still warm. I'm gonna crack it down here a couple of times. I'm gonna get my thumb really underneath there, and then just peel right around, just like this, just by kind of running your thumb. And there's my second one. It works every time. This is not luck. I'm not just lucking out here. I get perfectly peeled hard-boiled eggs every time I do it this way. I'm gonna do one more and then I'll finish, and then I'll take a picture of all of the hard-boiled eggs that I made. And just so you know I'm not cheating, I showed you a picture in the beginning. Go back to the first video. I've got 3 already peeled. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in here. So I've got 8 eggs total, and they are all gonna come out perfectly peeled. Okay, just as promised, I told you perfectly peeled hard-boiled eggs, all 8 of them. You can count them. No shells left on them. They're all fully intact and ready to make our deviled eggs. All right, here I am. I've got my perfectly peeled hard-boiled eggs. Now, if you want to refrigerate these for a little bit before you make the deviled eggs, that's fine. I usually do before I make an egg salad, but I just want to show you how simple this is. So I have my hard-boiled egg here, and I have a very sharp knife. Starting on the side, you don't push all the way through, just until it stops, just until you can feel the yolk, and just turn the egg all the way around, connect to the other side, tear it apart. The yolk, you're just gonna give it a little squeeze, and I don't put it into a bowl, I put it into a little Ziploc bag. So you just give it a little squeeze, it pops right out, it leaves the white. There was some yolk on my other side, so I'm gonna do the same there. Just give it a little squeeze and a nudge, get that out. So now I've got my 2 sides, just like that, and I've got my yolk in the bag. Now, I usually do a whole bunch of these at once, but I'm gonna show you the process, and I'll go back and finish. With the yolk in the bag, I take a tablespoon and I scoop out a tablespoon or 2, depending upon how many eggs I'm doing at a time. If I was doing all 8 of these, I'd probably do 2 or 3 scoops of mayonnaise directly into the bag, like that. Seal your bag and just mush it around. And just mush it until the mayonnaise and the yolks become a paste. The yolk has to be all broken up. The mayonnaise gets all incorporated. Then I open the top of the bag so it doesn't pop, and I squeeze all the air out until I have like a piping bag, like that. Then you're gonna cut the tip off of your little piping bag that you've made. Get all of that yolk mayonnaise mixture down to the bottom corner where you cut the tip off, and you're gonna use that to fill the whites. And you could be fancier if you wanted, and if you wanted to use an actual piping bag with one of those fancy tips, I guess you really could. I just prefer to use a regular old sandwich bag. And fill it like that. And then I just sprinkle the top with a little coarse sea salt. I like the coarse so you can actually see it. And I also give it a little bit of a dusting of paprika because I think it looks pretty. And there you go. Deviled egg. And they're delicious. Try it. Even as a snack, really good.